evening. I'd like to call the September 21st, 2020 Wilson School Board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Here.
Mrs. Casper?
Here.
Dr. Kennedy?
Here.
Mrs. Cocker?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. McCray?
Here.
Mr. Negrini?
Here.
Mr. Schneider?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here.
9 present, 0 absent.
Please stand for the pledge of the flag. Mr. Maravich, we do not have any communications or any public participation tonight, so we'll save you a couple words. 1.6 communications. Mrs. Beth Levan is here to present the students for something they've done outstanding that they'd like to share with us. So, Mrs. Levan?
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here tonight to help recognize these students. They are exceptional people. They made my job as their advisor so easy and so much fun. Some of the nicest and most creative people you'll ever meet, they worked throughout last school year to create an outstanding product and a fantastic presentation for the regional competition. Then they overcame the pandemic obstacles to turn that presentation into something that would work for the state competition after it went virtual, all while balancing family, friends, extracurricular responsibilities, and schoolwork, including 20 AP and 8 honors classes among them. It is my honor and privilege to introduce the grand champions of the 2020 Pennsylvania Governor's STEM competition, Sanchita Busari, Cole Shimoleski, Luke Klein, McCord Peterson, and Colby Snyder.
Is there anything you'd like to say about the award or what you had to do? Could you explain it?
Hi, this is Wilson High School. I'm Luke Klein and I'm a sophomore.
Hello, I'm Sanchita Busari and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm McCord Peterson, also a junior.
Hi, I'm Colby Snyder and I'm a sophomore.
Hey there, I'm Cole Shimoleski and I'm a junior. And this is our product, the Eco Ecosystem. Now let's start our presentation. Who's starting this thing?
I am.
Oh, Sanchita, great. You're probably gonna want this. Luke, can you pass down the Arduino to her?
Sure can, Cole.
All right, here you go.
Thank you. Colby, can you pass this to Sanchita for me?
Sure. Thanks. McCord, can you pass this to Sanchita?
Yeah, sure. Here. Oh, thank you. Sanchita, I have the Arduino. Do you want it now?
Yeah,
Here.
I got it. Let's get this presentation started.
Alrighty, so let's start this thing in real life now. My name is Cole Shimoleski, and this is the basic overview of our product, the Eco Ecosystem. Basically, it's a smartphone app and bike attachment that connect to each other to track the distance and then calculate the carbon emissions that your car would have outputted if you had used your car to travel the same distance as riding your bike. and there were some other things that we wanted to do at the end of it, but we never eventually got to do that in the future. Here is what the app looks like on my phone. As you can see, it's got a couple of menus, and for instance, the first thing you would do is input your car's data. So you'd say, for instance, like a 2015, I don't know, Chrysler 200 with whatever engine. And then that would find the EPA fuel economy from the Department of Energy. Then you would just input that data into the app, save it. Then once you go on your bike ride, for instance, it's your commute to work, maybe like 2 or 3 miles, then you would take an NFC card, tap it to the back of your phone. Well, actually, no, to the bike attachment first, then to your phone, and then it would log that in a Google Sheet and then also calculate the data for you. So to pass it on to how we came up with this, I'm giving it to Colby Snyder.
Hi, I'm Colby. So to come up with the idea, we first researched the biggest problems Pennsylvania is facing, and two that stood out to us were carbon emissions and obesity. Pennsylvania's in the bottom 10% of the state for carbon emissions and the bottom 20 for obesity, so we thought it was important to target both of those issues at once. So that led us to biking as a possible solution since it's exercise and cuts down on transportation. The first attempt we had at this was we had an idea to make a whole bike with eco-friendly parts like solar panels and windmills, but that would have been too expensive, so instead we designed the attachment with the app that would fit on any bike. We had a bunch of ideas for how to make it, and we tested 2 of those ideas, and the most effective one was the light sensing system that we used for the state competition. So we hope that by tracking how far people went and then rewarding them for it in our app, we could motivate more people to bike instead of drive.
Hi, I'm Luke. I'm going to be talking about our experience at the regional competition. So we all were going on the van to the regional competition, and we were really nervous. We were excited that was the time for the competition, but we just wanted to do really well, and we were nervous for the presentation. So we were practicing the presentation on the bus because we didn't know if we were going first or not. So we just wanted to be really prepared. We wanted to have it polished and just in our minds ready to go for the actual presentation. Once we got there, we rode our bike into the BCIU building, and everybody had fun doing that. Everybody got a kick out of it. And so it was revealed that we were going to present last, so we were excited about that because we had time to make sure that our product was on the bike right, everything was set up well, and we had time to make sure that our presentation was nice and polished and that we were ready to present to the judges. And we had a lot of fun just waiting around. We had a lot of time to ourselves just to prepare, and we felt really good about it. We went in and we went through the slides. We did a product demonstration to the judges, which worked out really well. We made a lot of jokes, and then we had the judges laughing, and we also had them interact by asking them about their car models and putting them in the app just to show that would work with any possible car. And I think that our presentation, well, actually we all think that our presentation was what won us the regional competition, because our product did have some flaws, but our presentation showed our teamwork and how willing we were to adapt and work together to improve for the state competition. And it really showed the potential of our product. And Sanchita is going to talk about the problems that we had initially and how we solved them for the state competition.
Hello, I'm Sanchita. So when transitioning from the regional to the state competition, we made some pretty big improvements to our product. So the first one is that we decided to switch the Raspberry Pi with the Arduino as the main processor of the attachment. And we decided to make this change because it made the product less expensive and it made it less bulky, which ultimately made it easier to ride with on the bike. We also made another improvement by replacing the QR code with NFC technology, because the QR code required a screen as well as a camera, while the NFC did not. So it made the product more accessible while also making it waterproof, which was a huge plus. Another improvement that we made was we made the MyEco app have a lot of improvements to make it overall more customer friendly and easier to use. We not only improved our product when transitioning to the regional to the state competition, we also improved our work ethic and our teamwork. We became a lot more organized and were better able to divide the responsibilities for our own strengths while also having a lot of fun along the way.
Hi, everyone. I'm McCord. I'm going to talk a little bit about our preparation for states. So after the regional competition, we knew we still had a lot of work to do. We wanted to redesign our product, but when COVID hit, we knew we had our work cut out for us. In the beginning, it was really challenging. Coordinating online meetings, ordering and delivering individual pieces to each member, and figuring out the best way to make our presentation were all concerns we knew we had to figure out. In spite of these problems, our team, we embraced an attitude of persistence and determination. And also, we wanted to do the best we could, but we also wanted to have fun doing it. In my opinion, this was what was the key to our success. I know my teammates and I can agree that the Google Meets could be long and cumbersome as we sat reading the project report sentence by sentence, and we were going over the presentation multiple times. But throughout the whole process, we kept a lighthearted mood, and we were all very positive, and we were all joking, laughing, just having a good time. In my opinion, this is what set us apart from our competition, as well as each member's unique talents and abilities. I'm proud that I was a part of this team, and I can't wait to see what we do this year. We were successful, but we also had a lot of fails as well. We have hours and hours of footage that shows just how evident this is. So we compiled a short blooper reel at the end of our presentation at State, so I think we're going to play that right now.
Thanks for watching. Bye now.
Have a good day.
Hasta la vista.
As to how to improve our product and generate viable concepts.
People from high school. Okay. I can't mess that up. But it's fine.
All right, you want to just keep going? All right, I'm counting you down.
Colby, do you want, shoot. Wait, is it Colby? Oh.
Yeah. Colby, can you take this and give it to Sanchita?
Sure.
There you go.
No, Cole, it's wrong person.
Hi everybody, I'm Sanchita. I'm also a junior at Wilson High School.
No, I'm gonna say cheerio. Cheerio. I think my leash.
She says, do you have a power cord? And McCoy goes, what?
I have a power cord. For years.
Can you pass it over to Cole, please?
Yeah, Cole, here you go.
Colby, pass that cord.
Thanks for watching. Bye now.
Bye.
Alrighty, so does anybody have any questions that you would like to ask us? Mr. Martin.
On your app there, can it track multiple times during the day? Say you go to this spot, that spot,
Yes.
does it give you cumulative total then?
Yeah, so basically the way the app works is every time that you go on a bike ride, you would hit the, oh, we've got packing peanuts going everywhere. They're biodegradable, by the way, so keeping with our mission. Now there's one stuck to the attachment. So when the waterproofing is kind of like cut away, there's a reset button. So after every ride, you would hit the reset button and then activate the thing after you've started biking. And then that would pretty much just keep whatever the distance data was for that ride on the card. And then when you transfer that to the app, then it resets the card. So you can do that for every ride, and then it calculates a total at the end of the day.
Wow, okay, pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, anybody else? Mrs. Cucker.
What's the retail price on this?
I'm gonna have Colby.
I didn't actually know if you had.
Yeah, it's like $60. After the regional competition, it was like 160 something, and then When we switched to the Arduino, it made everything cheaper because we needed less parts and they were cheaper. So that brought it down like $100.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to add to that as well. For the state competition, one thing we did focus on is trying to make our product more like a business. A lot of our competitors, they had like a single product and they were doing a good job presenting that product. But we decided to almost create like an entire business. Like we had logos, we had like everything, like installation manuals. Like it's almost as if we could just go right into selling the product, and that's kind of like the mindset we had. And I feel like that kind of set us above everyone else because we were so professional about it. So yeah, I guess that's what I wanted to add.
And something actually to tack on to that, the one effect that we had in the presentation was us passing around the bike attachment. What you guys might not have known is we actually made 5 of the attachment. So we took part of our budget and used it to mass produce, and we basically showed that our project was applicable to the economies of scale. So I think that's also something that really set us apart from the competition.
You guys are talking in the wrong group, you should be on Shark Tank.
Put more pressure on, say like Pennsylvania to make our roads a little more biker friendly?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually collaborated with a bunch of different local businesses, and one of them was the Climate Action at Lehigh Valley. And I spoke with their co-founder, Miss Karen Ferdin, and she stated that a product like this would definitely motivate us to maintain the green spaces that we have in Pennsylvania while also making roads more biker friendly, like utilizing old streets or old bridges that might not be in use anymore to creating more biker friendly trails and such like that.
Awesome.
Mhm.
I just want to say congratulations on behalf of the entire administrative team and representing the staff to achieve a result of grand champion at a state event. That's spectacular. And Mrs. Levon, I'm sure when you introduce these students, they're probably a little nervous right now, so they're probably even funnier than they were tonight when you're working with them on an individual basis. But as your district superintendent, I could only hope and aspire to be as smart and as creative as you are right now at your age. So good luck with your competition this year. I'm sure just hearing what you had to say that you're going to raise the bar even more at the state level. So good luck and congratulations. Very, very proud of you.
We're still waiting for the prompt to come out this year, but we've started floating around some ideas.
Okay.
So we do have some concepts. I just wanted to say these darn packing peanuts. Thank you so much, Dr. Fadley. On behalf of the team, we really appreciate all the work that the administration has done to support us in this, and we're just glad to be here. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And we understand if you need to move out, so you don't have to sit through the meeting, so.
I'm sure the number of AP classes that I heard, you probably do have some homework, right?
You're welcome. Under communications, we have a presentation from Scott Kramer of RBC and Mike Vinn of Financial Solutions regarding the debt parameters resolution. Christine?
Again, I think Mike Vinn is joining us for this go-around as well. So Mike, if you want to chime in, go ahead.
Yep, I'm here as well. Thank you.
I don't have a whole lot to add other than what we talked about previously, but if you want to pull up the summary sheet that we went through previously, we're here this evening to talk about a parameters resolution that will allow the district to restructure a portion of its debt for $7 million of budget relief next year, and also refinance several pieces of its existing debt for some pretty significant savings, nearly $900,000 of savings. I would point out in the summary sheet that we're locking in almost $30 million of debt at, call it a rate of 1%. You can see tranche A is going to be locked in for 6 years at 0.88%. Tranche B, which won't settle until 12/1, December 1st, 1.3%. And then the final tranche in March of next year, locked in at a rate of 1.15 today. I would also mention that each of these loans is prepayable anytime without penalty, which is a very important part of the equation. It'll give the district a lot of flexibility. Should these numbers change and you want to prepay the debt soon, we do that. And it also offers flexibility for future restructuring, should we need it in future budget years. But it's a really a good message this evening, locking in, as I said, about $30 million of debt at a 1% rate is pretty fantastic. Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or if we have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
The only thing I would add, Scott, is that, the reason we would recommend the board's consideration now is, given the next couple of months, especially with in an election year, that the markets could get a little volatile, and being able to lock in something that, as Scott said, around 1%, with the ability to prepay at any time, will not it will still provide flexibility for the school district moving forward, while locking in at these historic low levels.
Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
2.1, request to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on September 8th, 2020. Looking for a motion? Oh, I forgot that, sorry. We did meet in an executive session before the meeting tonight to discuss personnel issues. Thank you. And 2.1 again, request to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on September 8th, 2020. Do I have a motion? Mr. Martin first. Mr. Case second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Treasurer's report, Mr. Martin.
Mr. President, I submit for approval tonight the Treasury report, the investment report, and the general fund funds reports as presented.
We have first, Mr. Martin. Do we have a second? Mr. Schneider, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
Payment of bills, Ms. Martin. Mr. President, I submit for approval tonight bills out of the general fund of $7,019,317.52, and out of the 2019A construction fund, $610,361.30.
Thank you. We have a first. Do we have a second motion or second? Mrs. Cocker, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Abstain?
That's 8 yes, 1 abstain.
Financial reports. Mr. Martin.
Mr. President, I submit for approval all for the month of August, the cafeteria report, the child care report, the Southern Middle School, Wilson West Middle School, and the senior high.
Looking for a second to the motion. Mr. Schneider, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
It's 9-4, 0 against.
Superintendent's report. Dr. Fadley.
Thank you, President Hart. It's my privilege this evening to submit the personnel and program recommendations On the agenda this evening is one retirement. Alan Phillips, who is a custodian at Southern, will be retiring on December 1st of this year with 12 years of service to the Wilson School District. I would also like to offer the district's condolences to the families of Ethan Zieber and Jim Eman, who recently passed away, employees of ours, and let their families know that they will be sorely missed as Wilson Bulldogs moving forward.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the superintendent's report, items 6.1 through 6.6, as presented. Mr. Schneider first. Do we have a second? Mrs. Cocker. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
Under Human Resources, 7.1, request to approve the employees for specialized leave under the FFCRA to ensure PSERS years of service credit is maintained. Looking for a motion? Mrs. Cocker first. Do we have a second? Mrs. Casper. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
Under Student Services, 8.1, request permission to waive tuition as presented. 8.2, request permission to contract with Schuylkill Valley School District for one student to attend Wilson School District for the 2020-2021 school year at a rate of $66,950. 8.3, request approval of a service agreement with Berks IU for project special education programs and related services for the 2020-21 school year, as attached. 8.4, looking for motion to approve 8.1 through 8.3 as presented. Mrs. Casper first. Do we have a second? Mr. Case, second. Any discussion?
Can somebody explain 8.2 to me in some more detail?
Dr. Crawford.
Schuylkill Valley student that's paying us $66,950.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Yeah, we have a couple of students within the district that we contract with other school districts that cannot provide a certain type of program to come and we educate the student and they pay us tuition in order to do that. So these are students that are from other districts that are enrolled in our special education programs.
So this one's going to the special education.
Correct, yeah, it's a
Okay,
special education
okay.
program.
I got you. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
Under Finance, 9.1, Mrs. Cocker.
9.1, motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation notes in the amount of up to $33 million in multiple series for purposes of the current refunding and restructuring of the school district's general obligation bonds, Series B of 2013, general obligation bonds, Series C of 2013, general obligation bonds, Series of 2016 general obligation bond notes, Series B of 2017 general obligation notes, Series C of 2017 and general obligation notes, Series B of 2018, and paying the costs and expenses related to the issuance of the notes, and approving the note purchase agreement of RBC Capital Markets, LLC, to purchase the notes or to place the notes with the commercial bank, with RBC Capital Markets, LLC, acting as loan placement agent.
Thank you. 9.2, request to approve the continued engagement of Flam Walton Heibach as business tax counsel. 9.3, request to approve the award of the 2020-21 winter sports and athletic bids as noted on the attached list. 9.4, request approval of the budget transfers dated June 30th, 2020, as attached. Looking for a motion to approve items 9.1 through 9.4 as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Martin, we have a first. Second? Mr. Negrini, second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
Under policies, we have a first reading, we have a third reading and adoption to request to approve the final reading and adoption of policies 222 for tobacco use, 233 for suspension and expulsion, 323 tobacco use, and 335 attachments to FMLA as presented. So we have, as listed, we have second reading of policies and a first reading of several policies. Under miscellaneous, we have the enrollment report. Yes.
The third reading and final
Oh, I'm
reading.
sorry, I skipped right that. I apologize. Okay, looking for a motion to approve 10.1. Mrs. Cocker first, do you have a second? Mr. McCray, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
We have the enrollment report attached. 12.1 under committees, Berks Career and Technology Center, Mrs. Casper.
Yes, there's no report for BCTC, but we are meeting this Wednesday, and as many of us may have heard through the media, that the West Campus was shut down temporarily due to COVID, due to a positive COVID testing. But we will be meeting in the Welding Training Center at the West Campus on Wednesday this week. That's it.
The Wilson Equity Task Force, would you like to go into that?
That's me too. So we have not met as a committee. However, on Friday, September 11th, we held our first focus group with the high schoolers to sort of train them to conduct their own focus groups within the high school, which will be happening beginning next week, I believe, around issues of equity, social justice, and anti-racism. We met in the high school LGI room, and I first want to thank Dr. Hoffert and Mrs. Troutman for organizing the event, and of course, our selected high school participants for their leadership and eagerness to be a part of this initiative. We had about 10 to 12 students who participated. And I just wanted to highlight a few anecdotal themes that resonated with me from this first focus group. From the students who attended our elementary schools, many of them recounted and felt they received a broader level of instructional content around race and diversity at the elementary level compared to the secondary level. I thought this also kind of aligned with my own experiences with my own kids, as I noticed that they can recall being taught about certain historical figures like Ruby Bridges and Rosa Parks. So I'd like to commend all our teachers who continue to teach this content. Another note is students also revealed that they did not have many opportunities to engage in conversations around social justice with their peers or in their classroom settings. And I got the sense that this was uncomfortable for the students and for the faculty, which makes sense, but I think that also may open us up to potential areas for professional development. I also got the sense that many of the activities that the students participated in around race and diversity were celebratory in nature, i.e., celebrating Black History Month or Hispanic Heritage Month, which we're all in now. And by the way, they all agreed that these events were more enticing and engaging when there was food available. Although these events certainly have their place in our educational spectrum, as we have learned in our committee from previous discussions, diversity events can present detours for equity, and they can often mask issues of race and social justice and perpetuate inequalities. Another note, students also pointed out that they would like to see more diversity among their teachers, particularly more teachers of color. And then overall, I just thought the conversations were positive, were thought-provoking, and very enlightening. And I'm really excited to see more of the student outcomes from the focus groups that they will be leading in the high school. Dr. Kennedy, I know you were there too, so I don't know if you wanted to add to any of the highlights.
I'd love to. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I could have absolutely stood there and listened to our brilliant students speak for another hour. I giggled a lot about the importance of food, and which ironically we don't allow in the classrooms as a district anymore. One of the things I found as a former elementary school teacher so interesting was that the little things that we did seemed to matter to the students. The holidays around the world, the getting to know our students, and I loved how so many of them talked about the importance of teachers outside the classroom and how that connection made them feel really welcomed and appreciated in the school. I wish I could be a fly on the wall for all of the discussions that they have at the high school. And I left that meeting frustrated at certain things that were said, but filled with hope because the students were just so mature and so thoughtful and so, they were so hopeful too. They wouldn't be here if they didn't believe in us as a district that we can change. So I was super proud of them, and I'm proud of us as a district for going down this difficult road, but necessary.
Thank you both. Berks County IU and curriculum.
Before we move on, I just want to point out that I did see that according to Rich Askey, the president of the Pennsylvania State Education Association, to your point about the lack of diversity in teachers and educators, 29% of the students in Pennsylvania are people of color, and only 4% of educators are people of color, and that is one of the lowest in the country. Obviously, a number of different factors going into that, but certainly Dr. Kennedy could speak to this more, and I know this has been brought up previously, that there are very few going through the pipeline right now to even give districts the opportunity to change those particular numbers. So there's many ways of, I suppose, addressing that particular issue, but it's certainly a challenge. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Berks County IU and Curriculum Council, Dr. Kennedy.
The curriculum committee has a meeting on Wednesday at 4 o'clock in a room in this building, probably upstairs. I'm going to go with that. At the IU, we met virtually over Zoom at the IU. One of the first things that they did at the IU meeting was to congratulate Mrs. Jan Crote. She is the head person, secretary, administrative assistant, does everything at the IU. She's been there for 40 years at the IU, which I find amazing. So we got to congratulate her on that. They also awarded Mr. Daniel W. Fogarty the BCIU Outstanding Community Partner Award. He is the Director of Workforce Development and the Chief Operating Officer for the Berks County Workforce Development Board. The other thing that we talked a lot about again is the BCIU is constantly updating their COVID-19 protocols, and we got an overview of what would happen if an employee tested positive, what would happen if a student, and all their protocols as far as that goes. But it was a long meeting, but we learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman. I have no report. Extracurriculars, Mrs. Cocker.
On Monday, September 14th at noon And among the many issues that were discussed, one thing that we will be discussing in the future is, and we have a joint meeting planned with, facilities, thank you. I was just going to say Mr. Negrini. With facilities, are the baseball fields and fields in general, not, looking at possibly multi-sport field. So we are going to have a meeting as an extracurricular committee before our joint meeting, and we'll see where we go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Facilities, Mr. Negrini.
No report.
Have we started discussions about letting outside, that's a bad word, agencies, outside groups use our indoor facilities for sports over the winter? Okay.
Because I did see that that's one of the
Because I see
revisions
people
with
advertising
policies and-
for like
yeah.
wrestling on the side of the road, Wilson Wrestling for youth, and I was like, ooh.
No, that hasn't come up, and I'm sure that will be discussed in the future, and certainly understanding what restrictions may or may not be in place at that time of the year, but no.
Okay.
Finance, Mr. Martin.
We'll have our next meeting on October 5th, but I wanted to thank everybody for approving the presentation tonight and the bond refinancing. Like I said, the rates are really attractive, and we have the flexibility now, once we get through this year, to find out exactly where we're at for next year. So once again, thank you all.
Great, thank you. Human Resources, no report. Legislative, Mr. Martin.
Oh, yeah, a couple things. One, due to the lack of, I guess, control, focus, whatever you call, on property tax relief, they're debating, actually, I shouldn't say debating, there will be debates on it. But there was a presentation that takes us to the public and let the public make the final decision through a constitutional amendment, because right now, there's no direction from anybody. So this is going to go, if there's enough of votes, this will go to the public to vote upon whether they want to have property tax relief or not. One of the conditions are your amount can never go down. For instance, if you had, say we got 80 million from the state, that number can never go down. So there's going to be interesting to see how this goes, because there's so much I shouldn't say, certain people understand it, other people don't understand it. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. So that's something that they're being looked at, to take it out of the state legislators' hands and put it into the public's hands, because they don't want to address it.
Anytime that's going to be put before the voters to say, do you want to pay property taxes, I can't see how possibly that is not going to pass overwhelmingly to eliminate property taxes for public education. I think the danger in going that particular route is then you're left then for the legislature to figure out a funding formula that hasn't even been agreed upon in this whole discussion. So that really, I think, puts the state in a real bind if that is the route that is taken, because my humble opinion is that's inevitable, that people are going to say, I don't want to pay property taxes. So, there's a lot of people that are not, I think, properly educated on this topic, and I think some of those include the people that are in Harrisburg not understanding how the districts across the state, are heavily reliant upon local funds because they've failed year after year to properly fund public education. So this is just a dangerous road, in my opinion, to put this on a ballot, because...
Well, I agree, Jay, without having once again, this is just a preliminary thing but without having safety nets, it's a very difficult thing to present to the average person. If you recall, when they did the property tax relief that stated that a school district can abate up to 100% of the taxes, it barely passed. It passed 54%. So there's much confusion about this. And what they passed, a couple of years ago is meaningless because there's no way we can fund it. So it was just like a paper tiger. We can't do anything about it. But I don't know where we're at. This just came out. There's going to be a lot of discussion on it, but the state legislators themselves are trying to distance themselves. And I don't understand that, but that's why you're in politics. But I think there's got to be appropriate measures. There's got to be controls. There's got to be, the state just can't walk away. Let's put it that way. There's got to be a method that gives the school district the ability, in certain instances, to take care of necessary expenditures. And that's what has to get worked out. And the only other item of interest was, there's a House bill called 1962, which was a good year, by the way. They're supposed to now, PCERS, it's kind of underfunded, as we all know. The budget's underfunded by $3 billion this year, shortened revenues, but they're going to do something that most businesses have done for a long time. They're going to make a requirement that stress tests be employed by actuaries, so we come up with real numbers in the future, because what they've been using in the past has, they use these artificial 6%, it's going to be 8%. Now they're going to have to do real stress tests twice a year to determine what they've been forecasting is correct. So I think that's a plus, but businesses have been doing that for a long, long time. That's it.
All right, thank you. Public Relations, Mrs. Troutman.
Just a couple notes. Just wanted to let you know that we did have a nice article in the Reading Eagle that spotlighted our students, JROTC, placing flags throughout the high school campus. The Reading Eagle came, they covered that event, they put a nice article in the paper. We also shared lots of photos on our social media accounts of that event. Just also wanted to let you know that we launched 2 additional communication channels this week. We did put out our first edition of the 2020-2021 school year of our Bulldog Blitz email blast. We're going to be obviously doing that now on a weekly basis. So that's another opportunity for us to get information out to our community. And then the second new channel that we started this week is a collaborative effort between our media and public relations interns, our high school interns. They created their first episode of Positive News. It's a collaborative project that's completely student-directed and will feature segments such as a community spotlight, Wilson Trivia, tech tips, and more. The video is being shared through our district Facebook page, and we had our first episode premiere on Friday, and we have over 1,400 views of that already, which is fantastic. So we are going to continue to look for additional ways to expand our communications offerings to our community throughout the school year, as we view communications as extremely important all the time, but particularly in this school year. So thank you.
Thank you. Education Foundation, Mr. Case.
Sure. There's an Ed Foundation this Friday that just passed, and it was basically a welcome back meeting for the most part. But other than that, there was a lot of talk about the Bulldog Bash that's this Friday. Go and get your tickets. Come out and celebrate the Legacy Award recipient, Dr. Rudy Ruth, and also Sun Federal Credit Union teachers, Jeremy Giza and Corey Luft. It's going to be a good time. Lots of food. People talking about food earlier. Lots of food, lots of drink. Come out and celebrate. It's going to be a safe environment. It's going to be outdoors, and there's going to be a limitation on people to be abiding by law. So come on out. Have our tickets already, by the way. So, all right.
Thank you. Technology, Mr. Schneider. Okay. Ms. Gianni Clark, student outreach.
In recognition of Suicide Awareness Month and Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, Student Government, the Mental Health Council, and Minithon teamed up to post sticky notes with information regarding both topics around the school. In addition to the JROTC placing flags around the high school campus, students both at home and in school participated in several moments of silence. This Thursday, September 24th, Minithon is having a fundraiser at Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza. The Wilson community showed their support by attending a parade for Ryder, a Green Valley teacher's son who was recently diagnosed with a brain tumor. The parade was held to welcome Ryder home from a long day of treatments. We're so proud of Ryder for being so strong.
Thank you. Mr. Maravich, anything to add? We have
reminded me to check this. The governor did veto 2787, which is the House bill regarding sports, and included also spectators. What do I have? The governor did veto 2787, which was the House bill on high school sports and spectators. The House said they will take it back up again to override the veto. If I remember my Pennsylvania constitutional law, it's 2/3 in both House and Senate. Unfortunately, the House doesn't come back till the 29th. I like their schedule. They're back the 29th and 30th and October 1st. Then they're not back till the 19th. And the Senate, and let me just check the Senate, I think the Senate's back the 5th. The Senate's back the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. So the earliest, unless they would come back to Harrisburg, the earliest that it could the override could possibly take place is October 5th.
Thank you. We do not have public participation on non-agenda items. Is there any other business that needs to be brought before the board? Dr. Kennedy?
I was lucky enough to go visit 2 elementary schools in my other job, and I wasn't sure how things were going to look. I was really kind of nervous, but I have to say how incredibly proud I am of both of our teachers and our students. Nobody was whining and complaining about wearing a mask. Everybody had their mask on properly. Nobody was complaining about social distancing. The students were still able to be social even though they were apart. And was astounded at the creative ways our teachers came up to solve problems in the classroom. Like, we can't use our cubbies, so we have to have stuff at our desks, and each teacher had their own way of keeping things organized in their desk. And I felt like I just wanted to take a picture and post just the creativity at solving the problems in a creative way. I was just so super impressed, and it made me so happy to go to the schools today. Much, much happier than I thought. It was even better than I imagined. So kudos to our teachers and to our students.
Thank you. Any other items? Mr. Negrini?
I just wanted to point out how well the high school virtual Meet the Teacher night went, at least in my home. I thought all of the teachers brought a tremendous level of enthusiasm in embracing this different way of rolling out education. And I appreciate many of the teachers acknowledging some of the vulnerability that they have in teaching differently than how they have taught for much of their career, and that they are learning as much from some of our students as our students are learning from them. I was very impressed with, how they communicated that to me and my wife and to the others that were on at least the sessions that I participated in. And I'm looking forward to Wes' virtual Meet the Teacher night later this week. And I'm tipping my cap to all the teachers that are putting themselves out there right now during this challenging time of educating students. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Scalper?
So just to kind of follow up with, from my viewpoint, I have a daily window into the remote learning that's taking place in our elementary schools, and having a first and third grader, almost the lowest end possible grade-wise. I don't know where the patience comes from for their teachers. They're doing an amazing job. I'm sure everyone here can imagine the technology difficulties that a first grader would have on their Chromebook when interacting with their entire class. And it's been amazing to see the unbelievable patience of the teachers, just to calmly say, okay, Johnny, this is what you need to do. We've talked about this a million times, and I can vouch for that. Try this, and then if you can't do it, then go find an adult, because adult has to be home with them. But they try to get the kids to do it by themselves first, and I don't know where the patience comes from. And I just want to commend them and thank them for doing this and figuring out this new way of teaching young learners through the technology that we have. And I just really appreciate that they have that offering for those students that are choosing to learn remotely. So they're amazing.
Thank you. Any other discussion? And just real quick, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was to recommend the district and athletics on Friday night. I know it wasn't the result we were hoping for, but while I wasn't able to attend in person, I did do a drive-by and viewed some of the highlights online, and it was good to see how we followed through on the processes and procedures and guidelines we put in. You could see the coaches wearing their masks. You could see the spectators following the distance. So again, I think the whole athletic staff and the community for respecting the policy should be commended as well.
Thank you. Anything else?
Safety procedures that I saw, I was at the game for the first half, and, kudos to everyone that made that safe, and thank you.
And again, it's been said a lot. Thank you to everyone at all levels for being flexible and working with the students, the district, and the community to make this work. So thank you to everyone for flexibility. Anything else? Look for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Schneider first. Do we have a second? Mr. McCray?